Ahmed, is Patty back online?
I just never feel left out.
What is it you want to do? You want to report? You want to, on the record?
I think he's gonna say that she used herself.
Okay.
So that's good.
Okay, all right.
I texted her. She's trying
If she is,
Call to order for the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors meeting for July 25th, 2023. Repeat roll call, please. Oh, yes.
Minor D's.
Reading between the lines again. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America.
United
And indivisible, and justice for all.
Item number 10, repeat of roll call, please.
Director Gasca,
present.
Director Hamilton,
Present.
Director Johnson,
Present.
Director Mack,
Here.
and Director Townsend Smith.
Here,
Thank you.
Thank you. Repeat report of potential action from closed session.
Thank you, Mr. President. The board met in closed session to discuss two items. The first item, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2, one item. And the second item, appointment of public employee, general manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, one item. Both items were discussed and there is no reportable action.
Thank you. Any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda?
None from staff.
Instructions to allow public comment on agenda items from those attending this meeting via teleconference or video conference. Do we have any attendees?
Yes, sir. We have.
Okay. If at any point anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment and have joined this meeting with their computer, they can click on the raised hand button located at the bottom of the screen. We will be alerted that they would like to speak. When called upon, please unmute the microphone and ask the question or make comments in no more than 3 minutes. Those who have joined by dialing a number on their phone will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and *9 to alert us that they would like to speak. A slight pause will also be offered at the conclusion of each agenda item discussion to allow public members an opportunity to make comments or ask questions. Oral or written communications from the public. Opportunity for members of the public to address the board regarding items not on the agenda. Do we have any oral or written communications?
We did not receive any written communications.
Okay, then I will forgo reading all the details. Do I have a motion relative to approval of minutes for the June 27th, 2023 regular board meeting?
So move.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Gasca, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor? Aye.
I need to do a roll call vote.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Sorry.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Johnson. Aye. Director Mack
Aye.
and Director Townsend Smith.
Aye.
Thank you.
Board of Directors comments and reports. I have nothing to report at this point in time. San Diego County Water Authority report.
Okay, since our last meeting, there's been 2 Water Authority Board meetings. At both meetings, there was a closed session item to consider litigation against some party, which I presume is San Diego LAFCO, because Fallbrook and Rainbow were ejected from the meeting. And in the special meeting last week, Fallbrook, Rainbow, and Supervisor Desmond, who's chair of LAFCO, were ejected from the meeting. At the first meeting, they lost quorum, so they weren't able to take any action. At the second meeting, which was a special meeting held last week, the board met in closed session without us present for well over 2 hours and came back with reported out that the general manager and general counsel have been authorized to enter, quote, settlement negotiations, unquote, with Fallbrook, Rainbow, and LAFCO. This was quite a surprise to us, but welcome that the board didn't just rush into litigation, which has been one of its practices in the past down there. Just so you know, we have had one meeting with those folks from the Water Authority on this, quote, settlement negotiations, unquote. I don't want to get into a lot of details on that because a lot of that information is confidential at this time. But as we have said from the outset of this process, our desire would have been, starting in 2019, to sit down and hash this out like adults rather than go through the long, tortuous, messy process we did called detachment at LAFCO. And perhaps July 10th had something to do with them wanting to come to the table. But we will continue to be open to discussions, but we're going to fully work through the processes we've got going at LAFCO. That's my report.
Thank you. CSDA.
There is I guess it would be the fall conference or spring conference, but whatever it is.
Fall conference,
It's their annual.
annual conference, end of
Yeah.
next month.
Yeah, that's next month. I think the 27th, I think it is, 27th. Yeah.
Last week of the
So that will be in Monterey.
And on August 17th should be the quarterly dinner meeting, Butcher Shop. I don't know who's the speaker this month yet, but that information will be coming forth shortly.
Anything else?
That's it.
At
LAFCO?
that conference, there'll be, I think Robert has a paper at that conference and Malik and I are speaking at that conference as well. So Rainbow will have 2 different sessions that we'll be leading at the August conference, the CSDA conference in Monterey.
Which what are you going to be talking about?
Malik and I are talking about the programmatic EIR and Robert is leadership.
Excellent.
Cool. LAFCO.
Well, nothing much happened at the last LAFCO meeting. Well, as many of you probably are aware, on July 10th, after 3.5 years of processing and 4.5 years of this board working on it, LAFCO voted to approve our detachment from the Water Authority and concurrent annexation to the moment after all the work. And I have to tip my cap to the LAFCO staff who frustrated us innumerable times with the length of time it took for them to review everything, but they actually had to wade through a mountain of misinformation from the Water Authority. And when presented with the facts, they came up with a very what many believe is fair, and we think it's still too expensive, but something that was able to be passed to allow us to detach with an exit fee. It would be for Rainbow share currently over 5 years, we'd pay about $3.2 million a year, but it would still provide a significant savings during those years. Obviously not as much as we would like, because it'll restrict our ability to give rate relief in the type we would like, but it sure as heck beats being subject to the ever increasing rates at the Water Authority, which are only going to go up more than they have in the past. So I wanted to thank all the staff here as well as the board for sticking through the process. It's been a hard journey, but one that I was gratified to finally get the commission to get to a vote, to ignore the noise and to push through. So we're not out of the woods yet. The Water Authority is going to try to get approval to sue LAFCO again on Thursday. And then they have another special meeting on August 10th, which if they don't get it this Thursday, they'll try then. I don't know how many times the board has to say no before they stop asking, but apparently it's more than twice, and it's going to be hopefully more than 3 times. They're also still continuing to push through AB 399 in the state Senate. State Senate will come back into session on August 14th, where it's expected to be pushed to the floor pretty quickly for a vote, at which point it'd have to go back over to the assembly. Unfortunately, we're having to expend funds on lobbyists and whatnot to try to block that effort. It's not our normal playground in Sacramento, so we've had to bring on some folks to help us out up there. We do expect to succeed in blocking it because it's just bad legislation and a really bad policy effort to try to cram through legislation like this. It's difficult in an asymmetrical war to fight against the big city of San Diego and the Water Authority, but we've been doing it for years and we've been fairly successful. So we hope to be successful in this process as well. Now, our attorneys are very confident that this wouldn't be subject to us. They can't reach back in time and alter an existing LAFCO decision, but they may argue that, well, if the election hasn't happened yet, now the laws for elections have changed. So if nothing else, it'll create a new court battle. So our goal is to kill it,
Squash it.
before it grows. And we hope to be successful in that. So we're not out of the woods quite yet, but having the LAFCO decision in our pocket is certainly a better spot to be in than the alternative. That's my report.
Cool. Santa Margarita Watershed Water Master Steering Committee. We actually had a very interesting meeting for a change in our quarterly meeting. Met was reporting that Diamond Valley Lake is at 614,000 acre feet. It's 76% of capacity, and they expect it to be at 98% of capacity by the end of the year. And Skinner's at almost 40,000 acre feet, and it's 89% full. I have found a use for Beck Reservoir.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Met's looking for storing 400,000 acre feet of water, and they're looking for any storage capacity you can find. So our 2 acre feet in Beck.
It's the thing. It's just that
Will they
it'd be
put a
raw
cover
water.
on it for us?
Yeah, it's raw water. They're looking to store it. So
Yeah.
we don't have any way to treat it. But,
Anyway, I thought that'd be amusing.
yeah.
Interesting enough, their problem in not filling the reservoirs faster is that apparently they have 2 conveyance pipelines, east and west, and one of those is down,
Mhm.
and the other one's running at 100% capacity.
But they'll fill the whole thing in one
Yeah.
year, which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and I think that one of the arguments the Water Authority makes is that the state water project's unreliable. Well, it's flashy,
Flashy.
but boy, sometimes it delivers. It really delivers.
Like I said, they're expecting to take all 400,000 acre feet.
Yeah.
Let's see, but no, they're looking for storage, but the question was they were not going to let it go away.
Maybe they should build the Sites Reservoir or Temperance Flats Reservoir.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
divert it up there. We talked about Corma, we talked about Cup. Interestingly enough, all the pumps in Camp Pendleton on the north end are shut down for PFAS. They're looking at installing treatment capacity for PFAS pollution. I don't know how much that impacts any of the well users down in our area, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
the levee is still not repaired. They're having problems getting that done. It's a supply problem again and
Parts.
issue. And the thing that may have a slight impact on us is the court ordered the water master to do data collection on substantial users, and that includes groundwater as well as Santa Margarita water, but they didn't define what a substantial user was. So the water masters basically has been using 8 acres plus irrigated properties for substantial user. So if your parcel is 8 acres or more and you have irrigated land on that 8 acres. And he says the problem with that is and it's probably doesn't affect us very much. If you have 10 acres that are irrigated and it's subdivided into 2 parcels, you're still using the same amount of water, but you're below the threshold for a substantial user. And he mentioned that they were taking a look at this and they were also going to include that portion of Rainbow. So I'm interested in seeing whether or not we can somehow filter our data as who's connected, what parcels are connected, what parcels aren't, what parcels may have that we know have groundwater access. So
Yeah, we have well data from the county, but it's not super reliable from what I'm told. And some of it's older, but
yeah, this would be primarily just the Rainbow region. You know,
yeah,
the watershed.
Santa
for
Margarita
Santa
watershed,
Margarita.
which is the northernmost.
Mhm. Interesting enough, the budget was actually down from last year. But that has to do with most of the settlement issues have rolled off and are being finalized and don't anticipate as much time and effort by the water master. So
Still the best gig around. I'll tell you
yeah,
that.
down below 4% from last year is in the overall budget of $872,000. So that's Santa Margarita watershed. Next meeting is October 17th. Aqua.
Yeah. There's 3 bills that were noted in your Aqua News. AB 460, AB 1337. They both failed to get out of the Senate Natural Resources Water Committee, and they're both now 2-year bills. They would have provided extensive powers to the State Water Resources Control Board that would impact water rights. Aqua opposed them, and I think that was part of the consequence of them being delayed and now going into 2 years to get amended. There's a Senate Bill 389 that was passed out of the Assembly Water, Parks, and Wildlife Committee. Aqua had been negotiating with the senator to get modifications, and they're supporting that. So I guess there's something we need to do to support them. I guess we ought to check it out and see what we can do. And then on July 10th, the governor signed budget trailer bills intended to streamline infrastructure projects. And it included changes to the judicial process related to CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, the California Endangered Species Act, and the project contracting authority of the Department of Water Resources and Department of Transportation. So hopefully, that'll help get projects off the ground and rolling. See, I had a couple of others. Just noted, and I couldn't get to it, but I guess maybe some people did. Region 10, there was a Region 10 event at Oceanside on the 29th.
Julie was there.
Yep, all kinds of panelists,
excellent.
whatnot.
It was
I thought it was kind of interesting, at least in the report, that one of the speakers was the Yorba Linda Water District General Manager, Mark Toy. And it says, today he is leading projects that range from a PFAS treatment plant to a helihydrant for helping fight fires.
Yeah, their hydrant got used a couple weeks back on a fire. 17 tank loads got pulled out of there.
There was
Ours
one
hasn't
other.
been used yet.
Used.
That's good.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah.
We want that to
But
happen.
if it doesn't get used,
Where is it? And last but not least, the upcoming Aqua conference is Indian Wells, November 28th, 29th. That's it.
Okay, meetings, workshop, committee, seminars, et cetera, reports of directors, AB 1, 2, 3, 4. Board seminars, conferences, workshops, training, and attendance reports. Do we have any?
I do.
Good.
As Meg mentioned, Tracy and I went to the Region 10 workshop it was June 29th in the city of Oceanside. Very informative. 2 panels, excellent speakers and panels. And also I spent a day, July 13th, to have an operations tour here in our water district. And Robert took me around to see what happens with operations.
Things get done.
Yeah.
Even when it's hot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Any other directors, any other meetings or workshops? Directors' comments?
Yeah, I got one. So in paying the bill for water at our place up in Reno, it's the bill comes from Truckee Meadows Water Authority. And so they have different handouts or, inserts that come with the bill. I just thought I'd bring them and lay them on you guys to look at it from a communication standpoint,
Cool.
get a perspective, other stuff that's done by other districts. And there's some food for thought.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll pass
Some
that
things
along
that maybe
to our
we could
marketing
do.
communications.
But
person.
yeah. That's all.
Anybody else? Legal counsel comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did a written report and update on 2 new cases. The first was an appellate court decision involving local public agency design immunity. And the second was an update to the Clean Water Act based on a new decision from the United States Supreme Court. First, on the design immunity issue, which local agencies like Rainbow benefit from under the government code, this most recent decision chipped away at it a bit, still, confirms the doctrine in general, but limits the scope a little bit. There was a case involving the city of Palos Verdes where a bicyclist family sued. The bicyclist was struck and killed by a truck while going through an intersection without a bike lane, but the agency had previously approved a street design where they removed the bike lane to allow a block for street parking. So the court concluded that in a case like that, while even though the design immunity generally shields and protects local agencies from dangerous conditions claim, the immunity doesn't apply in the situation where a plaintiff can establish 3 elements. The first being that the agency was aware of a dangerous condition. The second, that the dangerous condition was not, quote unquote, reasonably apparent to a person exercising due care, unquote. And third, the absence of a warning was a substantial factor in bringing about the injury. And the court in this case really focused on the absence of a warning. So it's something to consider when going through designs, if there's any sort of dangerous condition and whether a warning should be necessary to preserve that design immunity for the agency.
Would that apply to like when we have trench plates on the road that can sometimes, cars go over and there might be a little different surface? I mean, should we have signage? I don't know. We do frequently, but I don't know if it's every time. Caution, trench plates ahead.
It could be right if they could establish the case that it was a quote unquote dangerous condition that we knew about.
Robert, you have those signs.
Steel plates on road.
And the second update was on the Clean Water Act, which we've discussed before. And the United States Supreme Court issued a split decision. They went 5-4 on this one with the opinion written by Justice Alito. And it basically limits the scope of the federal government's regulatory power under the Clean Water Act. We heard it before. It's really expanded over the years. It first had to be a navigable water body that you could put a boat on and have it move, it's gone to wetlands and everything else over the years.
Seasonal stream.
Seasonal stream.
Yeah.
Curbs and gutters.
Gutters.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this case actually pushes back on that expansion and significantly redefines the scope and basically says that for the federal government to have jurisdiction, there must be a quote unquote continuous and indistinguishable surface connection to a protected water such as a stream, river, ocean, or lake. So the EPA and the Army Corps stated that they want to fast track a new federal regulation to put the Supreme Court's decision into law by September 1 of this year. Some of the environmental organizations have said they're going to sue, so it might not be the end of it yet, but
How do you sue the Supreme Court?
yeah, they would bring the if the EPA and Army Corps actually try to fast track it,
Yeah.
they'll go after that proposed regulation, and then we'll see
Tie
how
it up.
that comes out.
I don't think we're ever going to get a clear CWA set of rules and organ. Anyway, committee reports, Flint, budget and finance and engineering operations both.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, committee members, board members. The Budget and Finance Committee met on July 11th. The agenda was relatively light. We did, however, take an action related to item number 19 on your calendar, which is the wastewater loan. Tracy briefed us on the terms and conditions of the loan, and the committee voted unanimously to recommend that the board approve the loan and approve the staff recommendation. We had a very substantial and exciting detachment update, which was the day after the vote, but enough events have gone by since then that probably that update is somewhat overtaken by events. The Engineering and Operations Committee did not meet in July, but be still your beating hearts. We are not on strike. We have a meeting scheduled for a week from tomorrow for the August meeting, and we do have an agenda of items there. So any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Communications and Customer Services Committee, you want to do that or me?
Sure,
Okay.
it's up to you. I'm ready.
I got a coin.
We've got a few.
Go ahead.
So they discussed the sub-metering outreach topic. I think for the last time, I think they reached a conclusion and recommendation. We are able to send printed mailers, and we decided to do a quarterly printed newsletter that gives them information about how they can opt into an electronic one instead. So Amanda said that she can start publishing that, and we can start sending it out in September. We decided to only do it quarterly because of the cost of the paper mailers. They also talked about the newsletter topics for the next couple of months. We're going to do a highlight on our fire season readiness and tips for homeowners to be ready for fire season. And then in September, we're trying to plan a couple months ahead of time. We're going to include some answers to FAQs that the customer service team receives questions about, and then a highlight of the operations team. For the first time, we actually started reporting metrics. Josh from customer service reported on some of the metrics, and really great news that our average call hold time has gone down from 90 seconds a year ago to like 30 seconds. And this is with a brand new customer service team. Like within their
Yeah.
first month, they got that hold time down, down to a third of what it has historically been. So that's really awesome job on that team. We're still working on soliciting additional responses to our customer service survey. We have a prompt up on our website now, which has generated a few more responses than the printed newsletter has. We also talked about some logo design concepts for our 70th anniversary logo for that event. Amanda's got some drafts that she'll be presenting at the August committee meeting, and then hopefully some final choices for the board to vote on in August for that. And then we also talked about a welcome packet. So we took some of the feedback that ratepayers offered during our rate hearing about kind of the setting expectations when you move into the district from outside. So we're updating our welcome packet for people who are moving into the district from out of the area to kind of cover some of those things. So that was that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All righty. Board action items. Item number 18, discussion and possible action to approve ordinance 23-05, amending and updating administrative code 1.02.02.0 conflict of interest.
This is just a housekeeping item. When we
Right.
change some titles, we have to update who has to file Form 700s and whatnot. So
I have a question in reading through the addendum list of qualified people. I do not see our marketing person on there. Am I missing it?
Her title, are you talking about on the position list on the conflict of interest code? Her title is administrative analyst.
Okay,
It's so that job classification is written broadly, because we have some in engineering and then this position that focuses on communication.
I thought it might have been included there, but I
it is.
figured I wanted to ask explicitly to make
Great
sure.
question.
Okay, any other discussion? Is there a motion? I move that we approve the changes. Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Johnson. Roll call vote, please.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
and Director Townsend Smith.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 19, consider approval of the form of a lease financing agreement with First American RBC/City National Bank for $5 million at 5.49% plus or minus a percent. Interest for 10 years.
I'll hand this to Tracy.
Okay, so this was the loan that was proposed with our cost of service study and included in the budget plan for the wastewater capital plan. So what we did is we sent RFPs out to 10 different financial institutions asking for bids on a $5 million 10-year loan. We received responses from 3 of those. Of those 3, First American RBC had the lowest rate. They were also the only one of the group that would allow us to have financing with them that didn't require us to have our banking deposits with the bank. That's a new development that's happened since the banking crisis, is that banks, even that last one that we got a loan with last year, now they require that we have our deposits within their bank. So it would have meant that we had to switch banks too. Fortunately, First American had the lowest rate as well, and they had really good terms. So what this is doing is just formally asking for the board to give Tom the authority to sign on the loan. We have a preliminary rate of 5.49%. I put the plus minus in there because it can change. It fluctuates every day based on the index. So what this loan is going to do for us, as a recap, is replenish the wastewater reserve funds. We had a pretty big surplus for the last 5 or 6 years in that account as we made the plan for the Thoroughbred Lift Station project, and now we've depleted those with that project. So we've paid for that project about 90% from our reserve funds. So this is just going to replenish those reserve funds in the short term while the rates catch up and help us so that we have a buffer rather than bringing it down to 0.
Question was this approved by the Budget and Finance?
Yes.
This is one.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
thank you.
is the one that Flint was
Okay.
just telling us about.
It was recommended for approval.
Okay,
Yes.
recommended for approval.
Approval. Any further discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Gasca. Roll call vote, please.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
and Director Townsend Smith.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. 19A, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 23-17, authorizing the general manager to proceed with all due haste to fulfill the terms and conditions of the July 10th, 2023 approval of the application for reorganization from Rainbow Municipal Water District by the San Diego Local Agency Formation Commission.
Yeah, this is just a way to formalize the board's direction to me. This is not required under any law or whatnot. This is more of a way for this board to publicly signal that our intention is to move forward, so they don't think it's just the general manager driving the bus, that the board is driving the bus. It kind of goes through the resolution, goes through the history of the path we've been on and where we're moving. There's going to be some challenges in front of us, as I mentioned earlier, but we need to get it to the voters as soon as we can. And so I'm sure there'll be legal and political roadblocks thrown in our way, but we've seen those before and we'll overcome them. But this is just a way for the board to make clear its intention and direction as we execute this.
And it sounded like one of the comments I heard also that there's operational roadblocks as well.
Well, there's the Water Authority has a whole lot of roadblocks. They're good at saying no.
Yeah. Is there a motion?
I'd make that motion to approve resolution 23-17.
Moved by Director
I'll
Gaskus,
accept, second.
seconded by Director Mack. Roll call vote, please.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
and Director Townsend Smith.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Board member requests for authorization to attend upcoming meetings, conferences, or seminars, and that's beyond the normal major seminars that are already approved, correct?
Right, this is outside of those routine conferences, but if anyone wants to attend any of those routine ones, let me know so I can start making the accommodations.
John, I'd like to go to the one in November.
The Aqua Fall Conference, okay.
Likewise for me, the Indian Wells Conference.
I'll be there too, but I'm gonna have to pay my own way.
Was there another one?
Yeah.
I'd like to.
It's gonna be so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Patty, do you want to look at the Aqua Conference in November?
Is that the leadership conference?
The what?
Say it again.
No,
Yeah.
no, Patty, this is the Aqua Fall Conference. The
It's
Aqua
worth
does a
it.
conference in both the spring and the fall each year. This is their fall session.
Similar to CSDA conference, but slightly different topics.
The training you're talking about, I believe, is in October.
It is.
October, yeah. Because that one I do want to go to. What were the dates on this in November?
It's the week
20
after Thanksgiving, I believe.
20, yeah.
I think it's, yeah, they're gonna look at it
Yep,
right now.
November 28th and 29th.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make that one, but I do want to do leadership.
I'll make a note of that, Patty.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board information items. I don't know.
What's that?
Board information items, status of grant funding.
Is Amelia on the line?
Yes.
And I'll hand it off to Amelia because there's some exciting news
Yes.
Cool.
that could impact the item you already approved. Because with the
Yes.
grant funding. Amelia, you're on.
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if somebody else was speaking right before I go. All right, so can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so, I like started to shake a little bit. I'll skip straight to the good news, which is on the third page of my little grant program report, which is that we were awarded the Community Grants Award in the total of 1.5 million, close to 1.6 million. So this will go towards our thoroughbred lift station and sewer improvements project. Yay! So this
Very
one,
good.
this one has a bit of a backstory, which I feel like would be fun for you guys to hear because it was a little bit of a scramble, but we got it done. So I've been looking forward to this grant since last year, and I'd wanted to speak with Daryl Isa's office, who's the congressman that put this project forward for an appropriation. But I waited until January, that way it would be fresh on his office's mind. And Tom and I actually met with his legislative assistant, and we had a really good conversation. He was really, really interested in water, like they were nerding out a bit about water, so it was really cool. And he said that he would contact us again once the guidance and the forms were available for that year, because there was only previous year's forms available. And the appropriations website is a little bit difficult in that they aren't very transparent in like due dates or
Shocking.
any kind of, I know, any kind of guidelines until it's like, okay, here it is, it's due. So that's why I wanted to get ahead of it. So come March 15th, I know, well, hey, usually they release this stuff in April. So I'm going to reach out and see if he hasn't heard anything on the form. Because I had asked him and he said, well, we'll get you the form as soon as it's available. So March 15th, I get the reply at 8 p.m. that actually the requests to Daryl Ice's office are due March 17th. So from March 15th at 8 p.m. up until 4 p.m. on March 17th, I was completing that appropriation request. So that was it felt like college crunching again, like writing that application. So it brought me back a little bit. So we get the application in by 4 p.m. March 17th. And luckily, Paula was really awesome in working with us and getting a letter of support. And we managed to get that over to him by March 21st. So it's really, really quick turnaround. And then they were able to put that forward for an appropriation in Congress. And yeah, now what we do is we just wait on EPA to release the grant guidelines because they're the ones that run that program, and we're good to go.
So this means we're only borrowing 3.5 million now?
That is certainly one of the possible outcomes.
Yeah, I think Tracy hasn't had a chance yet.
No
No,
comment.
checks in the bank.
Tracy's look was not on your life.
Well, you can say that a different way. One of the possible.
I'll present all the options to you.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it definitely offsets that need.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
specified for that project. Just exactly when the check's supposed to hit the bank,
Uh-huh.
we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
More importantly, it offsets the increases planned for next year.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is that
No, I know.
Yeah.
it's 6 one, half dozen another. But I think one of the other things that Meg and I did a half a day tour with Alan, what was his last name? Alan from ICE's office. Nice young guy.
Yeah.
Works in Congressman Ice's office and
Yeah.
spent a half a day doing a tour around the district because and hats off to Congress Ice's offices. They focused in on this one. And like Amelia said, we met with the staff out of DC over Teams, but they had his local guy come spend several hours, 3 or 4 hours with us out touring around, and it kind of opened his eyes as to what we were doing. And then he was really amazed when we were eating lunch at the at Rainbow Oaks when the national anthem started playing. He was like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, he said his folks were coming in. He was going to bring them there for lunch.
Yeah. So it's good to have support of our congressman. And that was instrumental. And Amelia was instrumental, obviously.
Yeah.
She did the
Absolutely.
legwork on
Yeah.
this one. And I, as I told the board before, when we created this position a little while ago, we knew it would pay dividends. Just got to have some patience sometimes. And here it is. So the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. Amelia, is there anything else in the pipeline?
Yes, so actually, I think the universe wanted me to have a good, update for you guys today. So we had a few more come in even right before this meeting.
Really?
So yes, we are actually rewarded with 2 more smaller grants, not to be overlooked. From JPI Aqua specifically, we have a wellness grant for $2,000 that will be used toward our employees for their well-being. So we're looking at funding some flu shots and some nice massage canes for your shoulders, for your neck. So just to keep us healthy and feeling good. And then we actually just today received a leadership program grant. So this will cover all costs, including like travel, participation in JPIA's Leadership Essentials for the Water Industry program. And that will be for Ahmed. He's going to be attending.
Cool.
Awesome. Very good.
Great. Great work.
I do have a comment. As a fellow grant writer, I commend you because you nailed it when you said it was like doing an all-nighter at college, because it is. And you have to make sure every I is dotted and T's are crossed. So I commend you because it's hard work and the rewards are great. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I think it's also important to focus on a lot of smaller ones as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
All
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
hunting for whales. You're going to get
Yep.
now and then, but there's a lot of small ones that you can just stack up, and
Yep.
it all makes a difference. Every dollar we get from
Yep.
somebody else isn't something we got to ask for our
Yep.
ratepayers. And if it happens to be something that can improve the performance or wellness of the staff, that's good for us too. Hey, having somebody else pay for flu shots is great because we'll have fewer people go down with the flu and miss work and all that kind of stuff. So.
And the leadership component. Congratulations on being selected.
So yeah, aside from that, I actually just identified moving away from the more exciting things into what is it, funding that I'm looking into. I found one that I spoke with the governor's office. They just released a regional resilience planning grant program. And so this one specifically said that it is for projects involving multiple jurisdictions working together to address significant climate change risks in the region. And these impacts could include, but not limited to, wildfires, rising sea levels, droughts, floods, etc. So I actually got to attend their office hours and ask about some projects that I had in mind. And this one is actually looking like a really good one for another Hella hydrant. So I'm really happy to finally have found one where they consider the Hella hydrant, a project where it's not just a response to climate change, but something you need to do ahead of time in preparation for. So I think this one would be a really good one.
Yeah, one of the things that Amelia will be working on is trying to get through the Bureau of Reclamation as we wind up this first feasibility analysis on the groundwater study. And they're going to say, to go farther, you need more money. Then this is where we have the tool to go to the feds and through the Bureau of Rec, who does have money for these. But, until we get the feasibility study done, that's what she takes and hits the road to go up, talk to Jack Symes and get that funding secured to offset the cost of the next phases of that analysis.
I think that's the exciting news that I have for now. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to cover on here unless you have any questions.
Okay.
Certainly exciting.
Any questions for Amelia? And I assume we just covered grant item number 22.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Crop swap program briefing.
All right, I'll give a quick introduction to this, and then Carlene has some additional information. The crop swap program is something that Rancho Water initiated a while back, but now we've been in talks with them, us and Oceanside and Fallbrook about expanding the program, and I think even Valley Center, because they're securing, they got a few $1 million extra federal money lined up that they're looking to expand into our service area. So essentially what it does is it pays farmers to change their crops. In some cases in their area, a lot of it went from avocado to grape. But in our area, what we're looking for is a rootstock swap program to where people can get money to pay for the cost to put in salt tolerant avocado strains. And so we've got information on our website and put out information to our customers to say, hey, if you're interested, let us know. We're building a list. I had asked Rob Grantham, who's the GM at Rancho, if he could come speak to this group. And I had hoped was going to be here to give you all the details, but he wasn't able to make it. Something came up, so he wasn't able to be here, but hopefully I can get him here at another meeting. But Carlene, and so this is, we're just in the early stages of this, but it's definitely something where there is some grant money that they got that we're going to try to sap into and deliver to our farmers here. So I don't know how much more information there is that you have, Carlene.
So we did it featured the opportunity in our newsletter because when they had their information meeting back in May, they said they really needed to know that there was interest from the neighboring agencies in order to have a regional expansion. So we have about 20 ratepayers who have replied, some of them wanting it tomorrow. They're really desperate for relief. But we have about 20 people on our list. We have prepared kind of an information letter that gives them an overview that we'll send out to them after signing up for the interest list. We're waiting for more information from Rancho. I think my understanding is that they're applying for more grant funding in order to do a regional expansion. That's why they want confirmation from other agencies that we have interested ratepayers so that we can have kind of a joint grant application for the program. So Amanda has been in touch with the person at Rancho who's kind of in charge of this program. And they said that, they're kind of still waiting for more information and they'll have an update, maybe, August or September.
And at this point, the prevailing thought amongst Jack, BB and myself is to allow Rancho to administer the program. They've already got it set up. We don't want
Yeah.
to like have this whole separate just doesn't seem to make much sense. It's right here and, Temecula. So it's not like it's on the
Yeah.
moon, but we just tap onto their thing. Rob did tell me at the Santa Fe Irrigation 100th anniversary event that he already got more money, but he might have just been boasting. But it's definitely a program that has been working and that, especially when you expand it to multiple agencies, it checks yet another box in the grant program. So when it comes to the grant process, Amelia will get involved again with that and do our end of it. But I think it's something that'll be helpful. Although talking to Rick Carey the other day, there's like a 2-year waiting list to get trees. Even though avocado's under strain, there's demand for them. Not for this region because the water's so high, but up in Ventura County, places where water's cheaper, people are buying them up. And so, but I think this is definitely a helpful lifeline that we can get to folks. And, the salt tolerant trees, when the water is salty, which it isn't right now, but during normal years, they can save up to 25% of their water use, which Julie knows. And while that does reduce our sales, I'd rather sell somebody 75% of the water than 0% of the water, because it's a much more sustainable outcome for us. So we're hopeful to get all that in motion, and the team at Rancho has been very helpful with us. There will hopefully in not too long we'll both be member agencies at Eastern Municipal Water District very shortly. We might be in a different county, but we'll be working together on this one.
Yeah. I think it's kind of interesting. One of the comments that was made, what this last session at LAFCO, right before the vote, where, one of the speakers pointed out that there's a lot of relationship really between Fallbrook, North County area and Temecula. And this is just an example. Yeah, and then this is just another example of that, the intertie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're much closer to us than San Diego. Let's
Yeah.
just put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And better shopping than Encinitas.
Although it depends on what time of day you try to drive up there. That's all.
Well, same thing going to
I
Encinitas
imagine
too. Okay, thank you very much for that briefing. Ahmed, I guess you're on next for the new website and email domain presentation.
All right, so just to start, so this is something that Tom had directed us to. We're looking at state funded, not state funded, but state provided domain and for both our website and our email. We're not changing the way our website looks. We're not redoing any of that. We're not even going to change our mail provider. It's just going to be the website and email address. So we actually went ahead and talked to the CDT and started the whole process, and we're approved for getting the domain.
CDT.
Oh, sorry, California Department of Technology. And we got approved for rainbowmwd.ca.gov. So for instance, right now, I took Tom's email here, for example, tkennedy@rainbowmwd.com. In the new system, we would continue to have that. So anyone who already had that email address can continue to send emails, but he'll also have the email address tkennedy@rainbowmwd.ca.gov. And that will be for all staff members and board members. Currently, our domain is www.rainbowmwd.com. We'll still continue to own that domain, but we'll also have, in addition to that, rainbowmwd.ca.gov.
Will email still be serviced through Outlook 365?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the domain will.
So there's
only-
really no change except for the domain.
Exactly. It'll just tell, so we haven't done any of this yet, but what we would do is we would tell the CDT, if anybody's coming to our website, to rainbowmwd.ca.gov, to go to the same website that it is right now. And if anybody sends an email to tkennedy@rainbowmwd.ca.gov to forward it to Microsoft, and then they'll take care of delivering it. Same inbox as well. So changes and costs, so we would have to request from the CDT to add domain name server DNS records. And those are basically what tells them when an email comes or a website comes to this domain to send it. Projector. So everybody online can continue to see, but everyone here will have to look at the TV. Sorry. Probably turning that off. It's probably
Overheating.
We're,
Good thing we got-
we're replacing that.
While
Ahmed always has a backup.
while IT's presenting,
That's the way it always happens.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
it's coming back up. Oh, sorry. So we would have to configure our mail server to accept new domain. We would configure our website to configure to accept the new domain as well. So for now, there are no associated costs. We have all the approvals from the CDT, but there's no costs involved. That doesn't mean that that won't change in the future, but for now, they have. The only cost on our part will be the labor that the IT department here at the district puts in to making these changes work, which are very minimal. So benefits of using something like this, first of all, gives us credibility. Our customers trust that this is coming from a government associated website, if you will. Gives us authority.
Some people might see that.
Trust?
They won't suspect that it's phishing or contain a virus,
Yeah,
at least.
no, Different form of trust.
Yeah. It also allows us to have improved email deliverability. We're less likely to be flagged as spam in other people's inboxes, which is great. It has enhanced security and it's better branding for us that we've got a government domain.
So would this
And-
be a transition?
Yeah, that,
So once we would put it through, we would have it applied right away. But the transition would be as we're informing people of those emails, and we start sending emails out from that domain.
I mean, yeah.
Yep. So we would configure everybody's domains to send out everybody's emails to send out from. that
Auto
domain.
forwarding on the old one.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
your
They could
response
run in
comes from the
parallel.
new.
so are you thinking 5 years for this total transition?
I mean, there's things like business cards that would need to be changed, but the digital part of that can be done.
And the digital is probably easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the printouts and any paperwork that we would just.
Communications piece, and it will have an impact on communication.
I imagine at some point after a year, maybe two, you could also then send out an auto reply as you forward it, another auto reply, say, hey, that person's email's changed. We forwarded your message this time, but just update your records. But as we start sending and people replying to you, it'll happen. And
Servers don't change or anything like that. It's just a domain name.
Just the domain name, just DNS servers.
Yeah.
Some of the disadvantages, new business cards and stationery, really. And we do not own the domain. So the rainbowmwd.com, we own that.
we should keep it.
Yeah,
Yes, we should definitely keep it.
just in case the government decides to urgent.
And it's cheap domain name.
We pay Google like $12 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could probably sell it for a lot more than that.
probably.
Maybe the water authority wants to buy it.
But we would not own this one. It's controlled by the CDT. They assign it. If we need to do any changes, we go through that.
Yeah.
And that's what we have for you today. So does anyone have any questions?
Makes sense.
When do you anticipate we'd start rolling this out?
I mean, we could roll it out, as soon as possible. I mean,
Yeah, we didn't want to do anything until we brought it in front of you guys, but he'd been working for a while to get through the process to get approved for that. And it does add a little, hey, this is a government
Yeah.
agency, because sometimes you're like, "What are you, Government?
It's hard to spoof a .gov.
Right.
Yeah, the hoops that we have to jump through to get this domain, it would be difficult for anybody else to try to falsify it.
Yeah, if you were gonna, like, somebody takes a rainbow mmwd.com, you know, they can make these slightly misspellings and spoof with that stuff, but this one, not so much.
Excellent.
Love it.
So
Well,
we'll get
needed.
rolling unless there's any objections. We just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
you're aware this is
Yeah.
where this is going. It won't change what you do. Your email will be the
Well,
same.
and as long as we keep the original domain names, we have a backup in case
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Sacramento decides, oh, you could make a lot of money charging these guys.
Yeah, or they add a rule that we
Can't.
cannot comply with.
Sacramento never makes up weird rules.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Receive and file information and financial items.
I think Robert needs to make a report on a little thing that happened here in the yard over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. You were talking about that earlier.
Uh-oh. Must have been.
Yeah. So over the weekend, early Sunday morning,
1 a.m.
yeah, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, we had somebody decide to come in our yard and steal some electrical cables. And these are the cables that provide all the power from our old building to all the engineering buildings and the IT building that's over there. So as part of our investigation, we looked at all the cameras, tried to see if we saw them coming through the yard. We didn't see them do that, but they came in that old abandoned nursery. They came through that property, cut the wire that hold the chain link fence on the crossbar, pulled that down, and then jumped over there. But what Ahmed was able to find on the videos is you could see the arc flash as they start cutting the wires in the background.
These are big wires.
Yeah, they're like this, probably bigger than my thumb, right? And every time they made a cut, it just, but you could see it reflecting off the trees. The camera was over here on the warehouse and it was pointed that direction.
Did you find a crispy critter?
No, so we actually looked, because that was exactly what we thought. Somebody's laying around down there that didn't make it, but no, didn't find. We suspect they parked over off of Highway 76 by the 76 gate entrance and made their way through there at night. It's a very odd thing because somebody could, you know, there's a lot better things to steal that probably have more value than that. I don't know, what was it, 60 feet of cable maybe that they stole?
Conductors 60 feet or something.
Yeah, so,
Copper?
it, you know,
Drugs.
it's, yeah,
These guys
drugs.
had some skills because they opened up the junction boxes. They're LBs that are there and cut in there. Sometimes we've seen these where they're sawzalling through a conduit. It's completely insane. The cost, the damage, I think, is going to be in the $12,000 range. What'd you say, Ahmed, to get this fixed?
$12,000, but we're replacing it with aluminum. So that.
So the next time they even get less money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not that.
Southern Contracting who did some work for us, gonna work on replacing it. We're also gonna cut all the trees on that back bank. They're kind of overhanging the building anyway, so they're a fire hazard. Med and I were talking about throwing the camera up on one of those buildings so we could see that whole run back there. So a few improvements, just more than likely it was tweakers. It was just a really
How did they
odd
knew it was there?
situation.
Because you don't see that walking down the street. I think there must have been somebody living up there.
Yeah.
You know, or
Yeah.
camping up in that old.
We had it happen before I started here, so that would be almost 5 or let's say 6 or 7 years ago at Gomez Pump Station. They hit that pump
Yeah,
station,
right.
which
I remember that.
that makes sense
What did
because
they
it's out
use
in
it
the
for?
middle of nowhere.
They
sell it for
sell it for scrap.
Oh, we're gonna see the flash.
10 cents a pound or whatever it is.
This is a video of the arc flash. So it's behind that building in the distance. And if you watch Tom, can you click those lights behind you? If you watch the trees in the background, those pepper trees in the background, you'll see them start flashing. Yeah, right in that area. They're flashing.
That was Arctic for a while. I
Yeah.
also go to inspect the breakers on that because
Yeah,
those are fairly new breakers. too.
yeah. Boy, that
Should-
curled their hair.
Yeah.
How did they survive that?
They had to have the whole leather and then rubber gloves and then insulated bolt cutters. It's amazing somebody didn't just keel over on that one. Yeah.
Hmm.
There's another video Ahmed's gonna pull up right now.
So this is like about 20 minutes later.
They're probably recovering from the first arc flash.
So I would have loved to see them
Say, night blindness.
Regained consciousness.
They they had to have a ladder because one of the things they couldn't do with time was they stood on something.
Hmm.
Wouldn't it damage their pupils? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They had to have PPE.
So there's one last thing they cut or,
There's,
They cut it at two ends.
yeah, but once you cut
Oh,
it
there
at
it
one
goes.
end, it's dead, right?
That's what we're trying to figure out. How they must have cut through one and then cut through another one and not cut through from the first.
Or when they were cutting through the first one, the bolt cutters, I don't know, hit a live one. I don't know.
All I think it was there was three
Whoa,
conductors.
that's even bigger.
Amazing.
Obviously, we contacted the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yeah.
So contact sheriffs, if there's a trend of this going around, this will help them, but it's hard to believe somebody didn't end up in the hospital.
Go to the recycle plant and look at people that have black hands.
Yeah, go check out Palomar Medical Center, because unless you're wearing hardcore PPE with that size conductor, there's a massive like fireball.
and they were saying that if they stop someone and they see them with this type of cable and they have no business with it, that they would question it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of cable, you don't just have lay it around 50 feet. Or so, 30 feet. Yeah, so obviously the engineering department's working remotely and we're in different places around the building.
Yeah.
No power in there and.
In my younger days, when I wasn't too bright, I was messing around with some TVs that were in this garage of ours. And I was in bare feet
Ooh,
and I plugged in the TV and I touched it was the old metal frame
yeah.
on the base. And I got this singe mark in this index finger.
And
That's
black-
what I learned about
black soldier
insulation.
Yeah, that's just 120 volts,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
single phase.
Well, maybe they drug off a friend. Were there drag marks?
Wouldn't surprise me, but
Holy smokes.
it's just so weird, and we don't have security beams back there because nobody ever goes back there, but now we're gonna have to.
So which buildings were affected?
Engineering.
The trailers over here.
Yeah,
Because the power, the main panel is in the Chernobyl over there.
Yeah.
And then it goes outside the building along the wall and then
Yeah.
underground over to the trailers.
So SCADA was unaffected.
There was a slight outage and they came in, but it didn't impact the full SCADA system.
Oh, that's-
There were some electrical interruptions.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
As you might imagine, there were some strange surges going through the system.
Any additional information?
Yeah.
I could have burned Chernobyl down, which would have been a benefit for us because we collected insurance.
Man.
List of suggested items for the next regular board meeting.
I think we're gonna, is Chad online? Are we gonna be giving the board the presentation on the groundwater, right? August?
Correct, Tom. Yes. So
Well,
we will be
fairly
giving the
Description of that.
presentation on the feasibility study for San Luis Rey groundwater.
That's gonna be the biggie.
Okay.
We might have some, Chad, are we gonna have those, or did we already bring those through? I think we already brought those.
Nope, we have two. I know what you're thinking. We have two skips.
Okay.
Yep. I was hounding those developers yesterday, so those are currently in your review, Tom, but those will plan to come before the board. There's one for Ocean Breeze Ranch. The second is for Bonzel Oaks. And then unfortunately, we have two notice of completions that are pending, but it looks like those are gonna have to wait till September. So engineering will have some stuff for the August meeting.
Yeah, and FYI, on our deal with Party Homes, which is now TriPoint, there was two tranches of their funding, which the first one, we already got the 8 million, but there's 2.2 million for wastewater. supposed to come, but it's due by no later than I think April 2024.
Mhm.
Correct.
But we got word from them, they're moving forward with their funding this calendar year, so we should see that early. But that was already factored into the wastewater study that is
Yeah,
coming.
just
this-
timing.
It's always better to get it sooner than later.
Surprised they're able to.
And it's
keep
2.5 million.
Interest rates going.
I hope.
Well. they're
Anything
all
else?
paid for by homeowners.
Oh,
Nope.
Then we'll adjourn
Look at
at
that.
2:17
17
on August
minutes.
in the
To celebrate a successful vote at Lapco.
Huh?
We finished our meeting early.
Sorry. Well, Albert got a lot of time to kill. As do I. Virtual board.
Okay.
With this.
Goodbye, everybody.
It's gonna connect.
Jolene?
Move the,
Who's that?
electronics.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Amanda?
And it's gonna